Just tears up this hill.
Easy. Easy.
Welcome to Hagerty's Rated, the review show where we put a journalist and a race car driver into the same car and get their different points of view. At the end, we score the cars based on how they drive, how they feel, and how we think they'll age. Today, the C8 Corvette gets rated.
There's no other American car in history that has as much cachet as the Corvette. For 70 years, the Corvette has been the car that punches above its price tag, battling out cars from Europe, going just as fast as them, giving you just as much performance at a fraction of the cost. The 8th generation is no different. When it came out, it dropped jaws. It was stunning and it was quick. The 2nd generation, I still think, is one of the best looking cars ever. Throughout its life, it was raced successfully in Le Mans, in America, all over the world. And then starting in about 2000, they really hit their stride. Pratt & Miller's Corvette team won the 24 Hours of Le Mans 8 times in about 19 years. They won in ALMS, they won abroad, they won with the C5 Corvette, the C6 Corvette, the C7. If there were ever people that could make a front-engine car fast, that was them. They beat Aston Martin, they beat Ferrari, they beat Porsche, they beat everybody. But eventually you hit a point where you can't beat physics. And they reached that point. And if they wanted to stay competitive for the next 20 years in racing, they were going to have to move the engine. And that's the big story with the 8th gen. The engine is now right back there behind me. It's the first mid-engine Corvette. There were 10 prototypes starting in 1959 with the engine behind the driver, but this is the first time they put it on sale. And so the question is it still a Corvette? Well, let's talk about that. Okay, well, Corvette to me needs to be 3 things. It needs to be fast, reliable, and it needs to be practical, because the last generations of Corvette had a lot of storage space. They still got high 20s on the highway in terms of miles per gallon, and you could drive them on the track or on the road for dozens and dozens of years and they wouldn't have a problem. I can't speak to the reliability of this car because it's only been out for a year, but so far everything's working really great, and if there's anything I trust, it's going to be Chevy's small block engine architecture. This one is a 6.2 liter, it's the LT2, it makes 495 horsepower, 470 foot-pounds of torque. It's fast. 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. That's as fast as a Ferrari 488 Pista, which costs $350,000. Look at jeez, just tears up this hill. And it's so easy to drive. This is such an approachable package. It definitely has a little bit more body roll than you like for the track, but you can tell that the bones are here to be a racing car for the next 20 years. Very impressive car. I've got 2 trunks, one of the most comfortable interiors I've sat in. The ergonomics in this are excellent. With the engine behind me, the front visibility is so much better than the front engine cars. I think the C6 is a really good looking car. It'll be a timeless design, but your view out the front was a bit narrow, and that has gone away. Shifts are quick, they're smooth, they're not really abrasive. I'm in sport mode, I'm not in track mode, but they're very, very fast. Steering is okay. It's a little bit light in this setting for me. I wish it had a little bit more resistance. And the square steering wheel, I can't get on board with. I know I haven't crossed over my hands at all, so I haven't really engaged with those weird 90-degree angles, but it just feels wrong. It feels very wrong to me. It does suit the design of the car though. I mean, if you look at the outside of this car, it kind of looks like you asked someone to just draw a fast car and you gave them a ruler and a pencil. I don't know if I would call it gorgeous, but there's no mistaking that it's a fast car just by looks alone. And it is. It's real fast. It's real fast. All right. That's my opinion, but let's see what the professional racing driver thinks of this system and this new mid-engine Corvette.
Woo! Oh yeah, really? Noises like that, huh?
I don't want to tell you too much, but I think they did a good job.
From way back there when it comes up, it looks like it's still front engine. And then you turn and you're like, oh, that's...
Yeah, and then you feel it. I don't know, man. I'm really excited to see what you think.
All right, cool. I am too. Yeah, that feels a lot different than any Corvette that I've ever driven. You can immediately feel the chassis is completely different. Feels completely different than the C7. The wheelbase feels longer. The front end feels sharper, more direct. Shock, valving and all that. Stiff and sharp. Almost a little too sharp. But rear compliance, rear stability feels really good, and the front's really there for you. The rear comes right around, no problem. Almost anywhere you want it. The front's that good, and you have enough power on tap to really make the rear come around. We'll try to drift it right here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mid-engine, you don't do this in mid-engine cars normally. Power's not too bad. It's not too much where it overpowers the rear tires. This is where it's really good. That's the E-diff there. Opening it up when I need it. The front engine Corvette used to have, all that weight could help it turn, and then sometimes it wouldn't help it turn because you have all that weight on the nose, and when you try to turn, it's just too much weight. This front end is definitely the best front end I've ever felt with a Corvette. The steering does not tell you a whole lot. I will say that. The front grip is great, but the steering wheel doesn't really tell you. The balance of the car is what tells you. It's very approachable. Plenty of power to rotate the car if you want to rotate it on throttle. Lots of front grip, turn in. Easy. Easy. I'm sure early development they had to work out some kinks, but I would say for the most part they got those worked out. If you can slide through that corner at A&P, you have a nice handling car.
Now it's time for us to give the ratings. This is where we score the car in 6 categories, which we have here. I have not seen Lee's scores, and he has not seen mine. All right, handling and feel, I gave it a 7. I think it sticks really well. It's a little bit soft. Steering feel, not so great.
I agree. 7. A little harsh on the shocks. The steering doesn't have any feel. You're right about that.
And you think when they start adding more suspension to it and stuff in the future, it's just going to get really, really good?
I think it's only going to get better and better and better.
How do you feel about the square steering wheel?
I don't like the square steering wheel. If you were really short, I think it would help, but I don't have that problem.
Yeah, we get it. You're very tall.
Yeah.
All right, approachability, I gave it a 9. I felt really comfortable right away. The visibility is really good.
For you to be able to just hop in it and feel comfortable is pretty sweet. I gave it a 7. You know, there's other cars I think are more approachable, but for me, it was, you know, extremely easy driving, extremely approachable.
All right. Sound, I gave it an 8. I mean,
yeah.
It's, you know, small block Chevy. Sounds great.
Other than, what made it sound good? Other than,
I mean, that's kind of how every engine sounds. Yeah, but it's loud.
I gave it a 5 because all it does is go,
All right, that's fair. Yeah. Interior tech, for a Corvette, I give it a 25 because this is the best Corvette interior by such a huge margin, it's ridiculous. But I'll give it a 7 because it's laid out really well, it's extremely comfortable. It just, the design is nothing gorgeous to me.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it an 8. I mean, on the Corvette curve, for as far as interiors go, yeah, it's pretty remarkable.
All right. The look back, I give it a 5. You know, I think I'm just not in love with the way it looks.
No, I'm with you at a 4.
C1, C2, C3, like put them on a poster.
Yeah.
you know, for us at the time. This isn't there yet. And then timelessness, because of that, I give it a 6. I think we'll look at it as a huge, important step for Corvette, and it did a great job right out of the gate, but I think they need a couple of design revisions before you start going, that was the one that we want to drive forever.
Yeah, 6 is way too high. For me, this car is like the 996 Porsche 911 when it came out. Kind of had to be done. We look back at them now in the Gen 1 996, we're kind of like, eesh. So I think in 15 or 20 years, what Corvette's doing with their mid-engine platform at that point, we'll look back at this car and kind of go, eesh. But right now, it's pretty cool, but timelessness, nah.
All right, I think that's a little harsh to the 996 and to this car, but I understand where you're coming from. So I end up with a total of 42.
33.
33. All right,
Yeah.
so you can walk.
You could have scored a couple of lower so I could drive it. I still want to drive it. I mean, it was fun.
How about you drive and I'll ride with you and you can
Okay.
show me how you drifted.
Let me show you the
Sure.
drift.
Yes, let's do that. That's more fun.